There are moments in life that feel like beginnings. You don't know they're beginnings, of course. You think they're just moments. A Tuesday. A bench by the Potomac. A boy who smiles at you like you're the only person in the world. Sarah. Chen was 23 years old when she met Michael Coleman. She was a first-generation Taiwanese American, the daughter of immigrants who'd opened a small restaurant in Rockville, Maryland. Her parents worked 16-hour days so she could go to Georgetown Law. She was going to be a corporate attorney. She was going to make partner by 35. She had a plan. But Michael came from old Virginia money, the kind that doesn't talk about money. His family had owned land in Loudoun County since the 1800s. His grandfather had been a senator. His father was a federal judge. Michael didn't need a plan. The plan was already written for him. Sarah had never met anyone like him. He wasn't just charming, he was interested. He asked about her parents' restaurant, about the dishes her mother cooked, about the Mandarin she spoke at home. He told her she was brilliant. He told her she was beautiful. He told her she was going to change the world. Her parents loved him. Of course they loved him. He was polite, successful, from a good family. He looked at their daughter like she was made of light. They didn't know what Sarah knew, that Michael's family had barely spoken to him since he started dating the Chinese girl. They didn't know about the dinners he attended alone, the cousins' weddings he went to without her, the way his mother forgot to include Sarah in the Christmas card. Photo: they got married in 2006. Sarah wore her grandmother's necklace, a simple gold pendant her grandmother had brought from Taiwan in 1973. For your happiness, her grandmother had said. Sarah believed her. The first year was hard. Michael had left his firm to start his own private equity fund, Coleman Capital Partners. Everyone told him he was crazy. He had no track record, no clients, no credibility. What he had was Sarah. While Michael went to networking events and played golf with potential investors, Sarah did the actual work. She translated the pitch decks into Mandarin because the first investors they targeted were Chinese infrastructure funds looking to park money in U.S. real estate. She rewrote the business plan 3 times because the first 2 versions were too aggressive. She stayed up until 3 a.m. for 6 weeks straight, surviving on coffee and granola bars. While Michael slept, the first deal closed in 2007, a $50 million investment from a Shanghai-based development group. Michael got all the credit. The Washington Business Journal ran a profile. Young gun Michael Coleman takes on the big boys. There was a photo of Michael in his Georgetown office, sleeves rolled up, confident smile. Sarah wasn't mentioned. She told herself it didn't matter. She told herself they were a team. She told herself that marriage was about supporting each other, not about credit. She told herself so many things back then. 7 years. 7 years of 18-hour days. 7 years of translating, drafting, negotiating, fixing. 7 years of watching Michael get the awards, the profiles, the recognition. 7 years of telling herself it was enough. 7 years of silence. By 2014, Coleman Capital Partners managed over $2 billion in assets. They bought a house in McLean, 6 bedrooms, a pool, a view of the Potomac. Emily was born. Then Lucas. Sarah stepped back from the day-to-day work, or tried to. But Michael still needed her. Every big deal, every international contract, every crisis, it always came back to Sarah. Here's what the photo on the mantelpiece doesn't show. Sarah hasn't practiced law in 7 years. Her bar license is inactive. Her network has atrophied. Her former classmates are partners now, making millions. Sarah is. What? A wife? A mother? A ghost? But the ghost knew something the body didn't. The ghost was keeping score. Every late night. Every missed promotion. Every credit she never received. Every time Michael stood in the spotlight while she stood in the shadows. The ghost remembered everything. By 2018, Michael was a fixture on the DC power scene. He sat on boards. He hosted fundraisers. He was mentioned as a possible candidate for something, commerce secretary, maybe, or ambassador to China. His Mandarin was still terrible, but that didn't matter. He had Sarah. And then there was Amber. Amber Thornton was 24 years old. She graduated from the University of Virginia 2 years ago and somehow landed a job as Michael's special assistant. She had no relevant experience. She had no qualifications. What she had was a smile that lingered too long and a habit of finding excuses to be in Michael's office. Sarah noticed. Of course she noticed. But she told herself she was imagining things. She told herself Michael was just friendly. She told herself she trusted him. She told herself all the things wives tell themselves when they're afraid of what they already know. It started with small signs. Late meetings that ran later. A new cologne, something French and expensive, not as usual. Then the Instagram messages. Sarah found them one night on his iPad, still synced to his phone while he worked late. Last night was perfect. 3 words. 12 letters. 8 years of marriage reduced to 3 words, she scrolled. Hundreds of messages, hundreds, going back 8 months. Photos, videos, plans, I can't stop thinking about you. When can I see you again? She doesn't understand you like I do. And then the photo. Michael and Amber in Sarah's living room. The room Sarah designed. The couch Sarah picked. The view Sarah fell in love with. And around Amber's neck Sarah's grandmother's necklace, the necklace her grandmother had brought from Taiwan in 1973. The necklace she'd worn at her wedding. The necklace she'd told Michael about, how it was the only thing her family had when they came to America. How it meant more to her than anything she owned. He'd given it to Amber, like it was nothing. Like Sarah was nothing. That night, Sarah didn't scream. She didn't cry. She sat down at her laptop, opened a folder labeled Personal, and began to plan. Because Sarah wasn't just a wife. She was a lawyer. And she knew exactly how to build a case. For the next 6 months, Sarah played the perfect role. She smiled at company galas. She helped Michael prepare for investor meetings. She even complimented his new cologne. But behind the scenes, she was building something Michael never saw coming. She copied files to encrypted USB drives. She photographed documents with her phone. She met with a lawyer, Margaret Chen, the best divorce attorney in Washington, D.C. every Tuesday at 7 a.m. in a DuPont Circle cafe. Margaret explained the law. Virginia is an equitable distribution. State assets are divided fairly, but not necessarily equally. The court considers factors like the length of the marriage, the contributions of each spouse, and the economic circumstances of both parties. Sarah had been married for 18 years. She contributed labor, intellect, and language skills that were directly responsible for the company's success. She had a strong case. But Sarah didn't just have a strong case. She had evidence. 18 years of evidence. Every deal she'd worked on. Every email she'd written from Michael's account. Every contract she'd translated. Every investor presentation she built. She had spreadsheets tracking Michael's hidden expenses, the apartment in Georgetown leased through a shell company, the credit card statements showing jewelry purchases, wire transfers to a bank in the Cayman Islands. How long have you been gathering this? Margaret asked. About 6 months. Ever since I found the messages. And he has no idea? He has no idea I know anything. He thinks I'm still the wife who makes his coffee and smiles at his galas. Margaret leaned back in her chair and almost smiled. Sarah, you're not a wife. You're a litigation partner who forgot to bill. The strategy was simple but devastating. First, they would file for divorce on grounds of adultery. Virginia still allows that. Second, they would file a motion to freeze all company assets pending the court's review. Third, they would file a separate business dissolution action, arguing that Michael had breached his fiduciary duty to Sarah by excluding her from ownership despite her contributions. Fourth, and this was Margaret's favorite, they would file a constructive trust claim over the Georgetown apartment, the Cayman accounts, and any assets purchased with marital funds that Michael had hidden. He won't be able to access a single dollar, Margaret said. He won't be able to pay his staff. He won't be able to close deals. The company will grind to a halt within a week, and then? And then he calls us. And we tell him our price. On a Tuesday morning in October 2024, Michael arrived at the office expecting a routine day. Instead, he found a process server waiting in the lobby. The lawsuit was 73 pages long. He read the first page, then the second. By the third page, his hands were shaking. By the fifth page, he couldn't breathe. He walked into his office and closed the door. 20 minutes later, his phone rang. It was the bank. All company accounts had been frozen pending a court hearing scheduled for the following week. He couldn't access a single dollar. He couldn't pay his staff. He couldn't close the deal that was supposed to close on Thursday. He called Sarah. She didn't pick up. He called again. Nothing. He left a voicemail, his voice cracking, desperate, angry, pleading. "Sarah, please, whatever this is, we can talk about it. Just please call me, please." Sarah listened to the voicemail on her phone. She was in her new apartment, a smaller place in Georgetown, but with a view of the river. She was drinking tea. Her face was calm. She deleted the message without responding. The next day, Amber's Instagram went private. The day after that, it disappeared entirely. By Friday, Michael's partners were calling emergency meetings. They'd had no idea about Sarah's role in the company. Now they were facing the possibility that the entire business could be tied up in litigation for years. Investors were panicking. Deals were falling apart. The empire Sarah had built was crumbling, and Michael couldn't stop it. The mediation lasted 3 days. Michael's lawyers argued that Sarah had no legal claim to the company. She'd never been an employee, never been a partner, never been on the paperwork. Margaret smiled, slid a single document across the table, and said, "Read this." It was an email from Michael to an investor in 2011, the subject line, "Introducing our secret weapon." The body of the email, "You'll be working with Sarah on this deal. She's the one who actually knows what she's doing. I'm just the face." There were hundreds of emails like that. Hundreds. Michael had been documenting his own lies for 8 years. And he hadn't even realized it. 18 months after the lawsuit was filed, the case settled. The terms are confidential, but sources close to the matter say Sarah walked away with approximately 42% of the company's value, just over $130 million. Plus the Georgetown apartment. Plus primary custody of Emily and Lucas. Plus the dog. Michael Coleman still runs Coleman Capital Partners. But the company is smaller now. Several investors pulled out after the scandal. The ones who stayed demanded new governance structures, including independent board oversight and regular financial audits. Michael's name is still on the door. But everyone knows who really built the place. Sarah's grandmother's necklace? She got it back. It was listed in the settlement as personal property wrongfully removed from the marital home. Michael's lawyers tried to argue it was a gift. Margaret produced a photo of Sarah wearing it at her wedding and a copy of her grandmother's will, bequeathing it to Sarah specifically. The necklace sits on Sarah's nightstand now. She doesn't wear it. She doesn't need to. She knows what it's worth. Here's what Sarah learned and what she wants you to learn. Silence is not strength. Trust is not a legal document. And the woman who built your empire? She can also burn it to the ground. The question is not whether she will. The question is whether you gave her a reason to. This story is real. The names have been changed, but the lawsuit is public record, Fairfax County Circuit Court. Case number 202-43678. You can look it up. If you don't believe me, Sarah Chen is not a victim. That's the thing about this story. She never saw herself as a victim. She saw herself as someone who made a choice. 18 years of choices. And when she realized those choices were built on a lie, she made another choice. She chose herself. I'm not telling you this story to make you angry at Michael. I'm telling you this story because somewhere out there right now, there's another Sarah, another woman or man who's giving everything to someone who's taking it for granted. Another person who's disappearing into someone else's shadow. Another architect whose name will never be on the building. Here's what I want you to take from this. Your work has value. Your time has value. Your love has value. And if someone is taking all of that and giving you nothing in return, not even credit, not even recognition, not even the basic dignity of being seen, then you have a choice to make. You can stay in the shadows, or you can step into the light. This is your name, and you're watching Art of Betrayal. Every story has 2 sides. We tell the one they don't want you to hear. Subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the silence you're keeping? It has a price. The question is, who's going to pay it?